The Katipunan was a Philippine revolutionary society founded by the Spanish Filipinos in Manila in 1892, whose primary aim was to gain independence from Spain through revolution. The society was initiated by Filipino patriots Andrés Bonifacio, Teodoro Plata, Ladislao Diwa, and others on the night of July 7, when Filipino writer José Rizal was to be banished to Dapitan. Initially, the Katipunan was a secret organization until its discovery in 1896 that led to the outbreak of the Philippine Revolution. The Tagalog word Katipunan, literally meaning association, comes from the root word tipon, a Tagalog word meaning gather or society. Quote, its official revolutionary name was Samahang Kataastaasan, Kagalanggalang Katipunan ng Anak and Bayan. The Katipunan is also known by its acronym KKK. Being a secret organization, its members were subjected to the utmost secrecy and were expected to abide by the rules established by the society. Aspirant applicants were given standard initiation rites to become members of the society. At first, membership in the Katipunan was only open to male Filipinos. Later, women were accepted in the society. The Katipunan had its own publication, Kalayaan, that had its first and last print in March 1896. Revolutionary ideals and works flourished within the society, and Philippine literature was expanded by some of its prominent members. In planning the revolution, Bonifacio contacted Rizal for his full-fledged support for the Katipunan in exchange for a promise to rescue Rizal from his detainment. In May 1896, a delegation was sent to the Emperor of Japan to solicit funds and military arms. The Katipunan's existence was revealed to the Spanish authorities after a member named Teodoro Plata confessed the Katipunan's illegal activities to his sister, and finally to the mother portress of Mandaluyong Orphanage. 7 days after the Spanish authorities learned of the existence of the secret society, on August 26, 1896, Bonifacio and his mentor the Sagelas during the infamous Cry of Pugad Lawin that started the Philippine Revolution. Etymology. The name Katipunan comes from the full Tagalog name for the society, Kataastaasan Kagalanggalang Katipunan ng Anak ng Bayan. History. Being a secret organization, its members were subjected to stringent discretion and were expected to abide with the rules established by the society. Aspirant applicants were given standard initiation rites to become members of the association. At first, membership in the Katipunan was only open to male Filipinos. Later, women were admitted. The Katipunan had its own publication, Kalayaan, that had its only print in March 1896. Revolutionary ideals and works flourished within the society, and Philippine literature were expanded by some of its prominent members. In planning the revolution, Bonifacio contacted Rizal for his full-fledged support for the Katipunan in exchange for a promise of rescuing Rizal from his detainment. In May 1896, a delegation was sent to the Emperor Meiji to solicit funds and military arms. The Katipunan's existence was revealed to Spanish authorities after a member named Teodoro Plata confessed the Katipunan's illegal activities to his sister, and finally to the other portress of Mandaluyong Orphanage. 7 days later, on the 26th of August 1896, Bonifacio and his mentor the Sagelas in the famous Cry of Pugad Lawin that started the Philippine Revolution, formed formation. History. The Katipunan and the Cuerpo de Compromisarios were, effectively, successor organizations of La Liga Filipina, founded by José Rizal. This organization was part of the late 19th century propaganda movement in the Philippines. Katipunan founders Andrés Bonifacio, Ladislao Diwa, and Teodoro Plata were all members of La Liga and were influenced by the nationalistic ideals of the propaganda movement in Spain. Marcelo H. del Pilar, another leader of the propaganda movement in Spain, also influenced the formation of the Katipunan. Modern-day historians believe that he had a direct hand in its organization because of his role in the propaganda movement and his eminent position in Philippine Masonry. Most of the Katipunan's founders were Freemasons. The Katipunan had initiation ceremonies that were copied from Masonic rites. It also had a hierarchy of rank that was similar to that of Freemasonry. Rizal, Spanish biographer Wenceslao Retana, and Filipino biographer Juan Raimundo Lumawags saw the formation of the Katipunan as del Pilar's victory over Rizal. La Liga dies, and the Katipunan rises in its place. Del Pilar's plan wins over that of Rizal. Del Pilar and Rizal had the same end, even if each took a different road to it. Founding of the Katipunan captured Katipunan members, who were also members of La Liga, revealed to the Spanish colonial authorities that there was a difference of opinion among members of La Liga. One group insisted on La Liga's principle of a peaceful reformation, while the other espoused armed revolution. On the night of July 7, 1892, when José Rizal was banished and exiled to Dapitan in Mindanao, Andrés Bonifacio, a member of the La Liga Filipina, founded the Katipunan in a house in Tondo, Manila. Bonifacio did establish the Katipunan when it was becoming apparent to anti-Spanish Filipinos that societies like the La Liga Filipina would be suppressed by colonial authorities. He was assisted by his two friends, Teodoro Plata and Ladislao Diwa, plus Valentin Diaz and Deodato Arellano. The Katipunan was founded along Azcaraga Street near El Cano Street in Tondo, Manila. Despite the reservations about the peaceable reformation that Rizal espoused, they named Rizal honorary president without his knowledge. The Katipunan, established as a secret brotherhood organization, went under the name Kataastaasan, Kagalanggalang Katipunan ng Anak and Bayan. The Katipunan had four aims, namely, to develop a strong alliance with each and every Katipunero, to unite Filipinos into one solid nation, to win Philippine independence by means of an armed conflict, to establish a republic after independence. The rise of the Katipunan signaled the end of the crusade to secure reforms from Spain by means of a peaceful campaign. The propaganda movement led by Rizal, Del Pilar, Jarana and others had failed its mission, hence, Bonifacio started the militant movement for independence. Organization, administration. The Katipunan was governed by the Supreme Council. The first Supreme Council of the Katipunan was formed around August 1892, a month after the founding of the society. The Supreme Council was headed by an elected president, followed by the secretaries, the treasurer, and the fiscal. The Supreme Council also had its councillors. The number varied through presidencies. To distinguish from presidents of lower Sangguniang councils, the president of the Supreme Council was called the Supreme President. At the outbreak of the 1896 revolution, the council was further reorganized into a cabinet which the Katipunan regarded as a genuine revolutionary government, de facto and de jure. In each province where there were Katipunan members, a provincial council called Sangguniang Bayan was established, and in each town was an organized popular council called Sangguniang Barangay. Each bayan and barangay had its own set of elected officials. Pangulo, Kalihim, Tagausig, Tigarangachaman, Pangalawang, Pangulo, Pangalawang, Kalihim, Mga Kasinguni, Mabalayag, Taliba, Mananingal, Tagapamahala and Basahan ang Bayan, Tagapangasilwa, Manunula, Tagachlong sa Pagsulit, Tagalan, and Tagalabot. Each barangay were given a chance to expand their own spheres of influence through triangle system in order to elevate the status to Sangguni ang Bayan. Every barangay that did not gain Sangguni and Bayan status were dissolved and annexed by greater provincial or popular councils. The towns, cities which supported the Katipunan cause were given symbolic names, such as Magdiwang for Noveleta, Magdal for Kawit, Magwaji for Naic, Magtagumpay for Maragondon, Coalingtinag for Indang and Halig for Imasola in the province of Cavite. Within the society functioned a secret chamber called Camera Reina, which was presided over by Bonifacio, Jacinto, and Pio Valenzuela. This mysterious chamber passed judgment upon those who had betrayed their oath and those accused of certain offences penalized by Katipunan laws. Every Katipunero stood in fearful awe of this chamber. According to Jose P. Santos, throughout the existence of the secret chamber, about 5 Katipuneros were convicted and sentenced to die by it. The death sentence was handed down in the figure of a cup with a serpent coiled around it. History of administration. In 1892, after the Katipunan was founded, the members of the Supreme Council consisted of Arellano as president, Bonifacio as controller, Diwa as fiscal, Plata as secretary and Diaz as treasurer. In 1893, the Supreme Council comprised Ramon Besa as president, Bonifacio as fiscal, Jose Turiano Santiago as secretary, Vicente Molina as treasurer and restituta Javier Bricho Pantis, Teodoro Gonzalez, Plata, and Diwa were councillors. It was during Besa's term that the society organized a women's auxiliary section. 2 of its initial members were Gregoria de Jesus, whom Bonifacio had just married, and Marina Dizon, daughter of Jose Dizon. It was also in 1893 when Besa and Diwa organized the Provincial Council of Cavite, which would later be the most successful council of the society. The Filipino scholar Maximo Cao reports that Besa yielded the presidency to Bonifacio in 1894 because of a dispute over the usefulness of the initiation rites and Bonifacio's handling of the society's butts. Besa contested Bonifacio's practice of lending their funds to needy members, complete with promissory notes. Moreover, Besa refused to induct his son into the organization. It was also in 1894 when Emilio Jacinto, a nephew of Dizon who was studying law at the University of Santo Tomas, joined the Katipunan. He intellectualized the society's aims and formulated the principles of the society as embodied in its primer, called Cartilla. It was written in Tagalog and all recruits were required to commit it to heart before they were initiated. Jacinto would later be called the brains of the Katipunan. At the same time, Jacinto also edited Kalayaan, the society's official organ, but only one edition of the paper was issued. A second was prepared but never printed due to the discovery of the society. Kalayaan was published through the printing press of the Spanish newspaper Diario de Manila. This printing press and its workers would later play an important role in the outbreak of the revolution. In 1895, Jose Turiano Santiago, a close personal friend of Bonifacio, was expelled because a coded message of the Katipunan fell into the hands of a Spanish priest teaching at the University of Santo Tomas. Since the priest was a friend of Santiago's sister, he and his half-brother Restituto Javier were suspected of betrayal, but the two would would remain loyal to the Katipunan, and Santiago would even join the Philippine Revolutionary Forces in the Philippine-American War. Jacinto replaced Santiago as secretary. In early 1895, Bonifacio called a meeting of the society and deposed Besa in an election that installed Bonifacio as president, Jacinto as fiscal, Santiago as secretary, Molina as secretary, Pio Valenzuela and Pantaleon Torres as physicians, and Aguedo del Rosario and Dorita Trinidad as councillors. On December 31, 1895, another election named Bonifacio as president, Jacinto as fiscal, Santiago as secretary, Molina as secretary, Pio Valenzuela and Pantaleon Torres as physicians, and Aguedo del Rosario and Dorita Trinidad as councillors. The members of the Supreme Council in 1895 were Bonifacio as president, Valenzuela as fiscal and physician, Jacinto as secretary, and Molina as treasurer. Enrico Pacheco, Pantaleon Torres, Albino Florentino, Francisco Carrion and Hermenegildo Reyes were named councillors. 18 months later, in August 1896, the fifth and last Supreme Council was elected to renamed officers. Bonifacio was named Supremo, Jacinto Secretary of State, Plata Secretary of War, Ricapanta Secretary of Justice, Aguedo del Rosario Secretary of Interior and Enrique Pacheco Secretary of Finance. Members over the next 4 years, the Katipunan founders would recruit new members. By the time the society was uncovered, the American writer James Leroy estimated the strength of the Katipunan at 100,000 to 400,000 members. Historian Teodoro Agancillo estimated that the membership had increased to around 30,000 by 1896. The Ilocano writer Isabelo de los Reyes estimated membership at 15,000 to 50,000. Aside from Manila, the Katipunan also had sizable chapters in Batangas, Laguna, Cavite, Rizal, Bulacan, Pampanga, Tarlac and Nueva Ecija. There were also smaller chapters in Ilocos Sur, Ilocos Norte, Pangasinan and the Bicol region. The Katipunan founders spent the free time recruiting members. For example, Diwa, who was a clerk at a judicial court, was assigned to the office of a justice of the peace in Pampanga. He initiated members in that province as well as Bulacan, Tarlac, and Nueva Ecija. Most of the Katipuneros were plebeian, although several wealthy patriots joined the society and submitted themselves to the leadership of Bonifacio. Katipunero is the demonym of a male member of the Katipunan. Katipunera refers to female members. Triangle system and grades. It was the original plan of Bonifacio to increase the membership of the Katipunan by means of Sistemang Patatsulo Core triangle system. He formed his first triangle with his two comrades, Teodoro Plata and Ladislao Diwa. Each of them reinstituted Katipunan thoughts and another two new converts. The founder of the triangle knew the other two members, but the latter did not know each other. On December 1892, the system was abolished after proving it to be clumsy and complicated. A new system of initiation, modeled after the Masonic rites, was then adopted. When the Katipuneros had expanded to more than 100 members, Bonifacio divided the members into 3 grades. The Katipon, which is the lowest rank, the Kalal, and the Bani. In the meeting of the society, Katipon wore a black hood with a triangle of white ribbon having the letters Z, L, B, corresponding to the Roman A. NB, meaning Anak and Bayan. Kawal wore a green hood with a triangle having white lines and the letters Z, Ul, B at the three angles of the triangle, and also wore a green ribbon with a medal with the letter in Bayan script above a depiction of a crossed sword and flag. The password was Gombazar, taken from the names of the three martyrs Mariano Gomez, Jose Burgos and Jacinto Zamora. Bayani wore a red mask and a sash with green borders, symbolizing courage and hope. The front of the mask had white borders that formed a triangle with three Ks arranged as if occupying the angles of a triangle within a triangle, and with the letters Z, Ul, B below. Another password was Rizal. Countersigns enabled members to recognize one another on the street. A member meeting another member placed the palm of his right hand on his breast and, as he passed the other member, he closed the hands to bring the right index finger and thumb together. Color designations. Katipon. First-degree members. Other symbols: black hood, revolver and or bolo. Cowl. Second-degree members. Other symbols: green ribboned medallion with Malayan K inscription. Bayani. Third-degree members. Other symbols: red hood and sash with green borders. Katipon could graduate to Kawal class by bringing several new members into the society. A Kawal could become a Bayani upon being elected an officer of the society. Membership. Any person who wished to join the Katipunan was subjected to certain initiation rites, resembling those of Masonic rites, to test his courage, patriotism, and loyalty. New recruits underwent the initiation rite 3 at a time so that no member knew more than 2 other members of the society. The neophyte was first blindfolded and then led into a dimly lighted room with black curtains where his folded cloth was removed from his eyes. An admonition, in Tagalog, was posted at the entrance to the room. Inside the candle-lit room, they would be brought to a table adorned with a skull and a bolo. There, they would condemn the abuses of the Spanish government and vow to fight colonial oppression. 1. Ano ang kalagayan nitong Kagalanggalang ng panahon. When the Spaniards came to the Philippine shores on March 16, 1521, the Filipinos were already in a civilized state. They had freedom of government, they had artillery, they had silk dresses, they had carried on commerce with Asia, they had their own religion and their own alphabet. In short, they had liberty and independence. 2. Ano ang kalagayan sa ngayon. The friars have not really civilized the Filipinos, since enlightenment was contrary to their interests. The Filipinos were merely superficially taught formulas of catechism for which they paid numerous costly fiestas for the benefit of the friars. 3. Ano ang magiging kalagayan sa darating na panahon. With faith, valor, and perseverance, these evils will be remedied. During Bonifacio's time, all of the Filipino people are referred collectively by the Katipunan as Tagalogs, while Philippines as Katagalagan. The next step in the initiation ceremony was the lecture given by the Master of Ceremonies, called Mabalasik, who informed the neophyte to withdraw if he lacked courage, since he would be out of place in the patriotic society. If the neophyte persisted, he was presented to the assembly of the brethren, who subjected him to various ordeals such as blindfolding him and making him shoot supposedly a revolver at a person, or forcing him to jump over a supposedly hot flame. After the ordeals came to final rite, the Pacto de Sangre, a blood compact in which the neophytes signed the oath with blood taken from his arm. He was then accepted as a full-pledged member, with a symbolic name by which he was known within Katipunan circles. Bonifacio's symbolic name was Mapagasa, Jacinto was Pinky, and Artemio Ricart was Vibora. Admission of women to the society. At first, Katipunan was purely a patriotic society for men. Owing to the growing suspicion of the women regarding nocturnal absences of the husbands, the reduction of the monthly earnings, and long hours of work, Bonifacio had to bring them into the realms of the KKK. A section for women was established in the society. To become admitted, one must be a wife, a daughter, or a sister of a male Katipunero. It was estimated that from 20 to 50 women had become members of the society. The first woman to become member of the Katipunan was Gregoria de Jesus, wife of Bonifacio. She was called the Lakambini Katipunan. Initially, there were 29 women were admitted to the Katipunan. Gregoria de Jesus, Maria Dizon, president of the women's section, Josefa and Trinidad Rizal, sisters of Dr. José Rizal, Angelica Lopez and Delfina Herbosa Natividad, close relatives of Dr. Rizal, Carmenda Rodriguez, Marina Hyson, Benita Rodriguez, Semiona de Remigio, Gregoria Montoya, Agueda Catabagan, Teresa Magbanu at Trinidad, Texan, rendered as mother of Bato, Nazaria Legos, Patronica Gambo at Marcela Agoncillo, Melchora Aquino, the grand old woman of Balintawak, Marta Saldana and Makara Pangilinan. The women rendered valuable services to the Katipunan. They guarded the secret papers and documents of the society. Whenever the Katipunan held sessions in a certain house, they usually made merry, singing and dancing with some of the men in the living room, so that the civil guard were led that there was nothing but a harmless social party within. Though women are considered to be members of the Katipunan, information regarding the women's section were scarce and sometimes conflicting. Teodoro Agansla, for example, disregarded Marina Dizon and concluded that Josefa Rizal was the only president of the said section. Gregorio Zide, on the other hand, mentioned Dizon's presidency in his 1939 publication History of the Katipunan, but changed his mind when he adopted Dry Pio Valenzuela's notion that women members did not elect offices, hence there is no room for president. Notable Katipuneros Andrés Bonifacio, Supremo, the founder and the third leader of the Katipunan. Emilio Aguinaldo, first and only president of the First Philippine Republic, Katipunan's successor. He was also a war general and a leader of the Magdal faction that led to a lot of notable victories for Katipunan against Spain. During his presidency, he ordered the execution of André and Procopio Bonifacio in 1897 after the trial. Emilio Jacinto, called as the brains of the Katipunan. He wrote several papers during the revolution like the Cartilya. Gregoria de Jesus, called as the Lakambini Katipunan and nicknamed Aling or Yang. She was the wife of Bonifacio before marrying Julio Nakpal after the former's death. She was also regarded as one of the first women members of the Katipunan. Gregorio del Pilar entered the Katipunan circle when he joined the First Philippine Republic's army against the Americans. He died during the Battle of Tirade Pass. Licerio Geronimo, Aguinaldo's war general during Philippine-American War. Vicente Lucban. Americans regarded him to be the mastermind of the bloody Balangiga massacre in 1901 during Philippine-American War. Miguel Malva y Carpio, commander of the Katipunan and was one of the causes of strife among the society members. Enrique Pacheco, alias Resurrección Macabuhay, Secretary of Finance, and head of the Macabu High Council. Macario Sakay, head of Katipunan in Trozo, Manila, future founder of Republica ng Katagalagan that would oppose American occupation in the Philippines. Antonio Solomon Paciano Rizal, the older brother of national hero José Rizal. He was also a personal friend of Padre José Burgos in his youth. He joined the Katipunan years before José's return from Dapitan. Manuel Tino, youngest general of the Katipunan in the First Philippine Republic. He later became the governor of Nueva Ecija from 1907 to 1909. Aurelio Tolentino, Jacinto Tolentino, Solomon Doma, Julian Felipe, composer of Lupang Hinirang, teacher and member of La Liga Filipina. He later served as legal advisor to the Katipunan. His tenacious ability in argumentative reasoning earned him the nickname Dimenta Viejo among the colonial Principala. In spite of being devout Catholic, Carpio, like other Filipino revolutionaries, was a member of the Freemasons before the formation of the Katipunan. In Manila, Julian ran a private law school which many of his personal socio-political ideals succeeded to his students. Notable Katipuneros under his tutelage was Gregorio Alipay and Miguel Malva. Supporters: Melchor Aquino, also known as Tandang Sara and nicknamed as the Grand Woman of the Revolution as well as Mother of Balintawak. She has been notable for her heroic contribution to wounded and ailing Katipuneros during revolution.